You've been learning power dynamics and how to manipulate, how to read people, how to exploit psychological weaknesses, and you're starting to realize everyone else has learned the same playbook. Now, you're in a room full of people trying to out-manipulate each other, and the only thing you've built is confusion and burnout. Here's what they won't tell you. There's a completely different game, one where you don't need to manipulate because you've built something they can't touch, where your position is so strategically sound that their tactics slide off like water. This is Solomonic Wisdom, 3,000 years of proven strategy. And I'm not charging you for the real secrets, because the moment wisdom becomes a product, it becomes another manipulation. And that's exactly what I'm teaching you to recognize and avoid. Let's begin. There is a moment that happens in every room, a moment when everyone is talking, debating, arguing, performing, and then one person enters. And without saying a word, the entire energy shifts. People stop mid-sentence, conversations pause, attention redirects. Not because this person demanded it, but because their presence commanded it. You have seen this. Maybe you have experienced it. And if you are like most people, you probably assumed it was charisma, confidence, some natural gift that certain people have and others do not. But here is the truth. It is not a gift. It is a skill, and it is not about what you say, it is about what you do not say. This is the silent authority principle, and it is one of the most misunderstood forms of power that exists. Dark psychology teaches you to dominate through verbal tricks, persuasion tactics, body language hacks, ways to control the conversation and steer people toward compliance. Solomon understood something deeper. Real authority does not come from speaking more. It comes from speaking less and knowing exactly when to break the silence. Today, I am going to show you how to command the entire room without saying a word. Not through manipulation, not through performance, but through strategic silence that creates gravitational pull. Stay until the end, because the final principle I give you is the one that separates people who demand attention from people who naturally receive it. And once you understand this, you will never see authority the same way again. Let's begin. First, let me show you what most people get wrong about silence. They think silence is passive. They think it means you have nothing to say. They think it signals weakness, uncertainty, or lack of confidence. So they fill the space. They talk more than they need to. They explain when no explanation is necessary. They perform when the room does not need a performance. And in doing so, they give away their power. Because here is what most people do not understand. The person talking is not the person in control. The person listening is. When you talk, you reveal. You expose your position. You show your cards. You give people information they can use, challenge, or dismiss. But when you listen, you gather. You observe. You see who is performing and who is authentic. You notice what people need, what they fear, what they value, and you position yourself accordingly. That is the first layer of silent authority. Listening is not passive. It is strategic intelligence gathering. Now let me show you the 3 types of silence that build authority, because not all silence is the same. The first type is listening silence. This is the silence you use when others are speaking, and it is not just being quiet. It is active engagement without words. When someone is talking, most people are not listening. They are waiting for their turn to speak. They are formulating their response. They are thinking about what they want to say next. And the speaker can feel it. They sense that you are not actually present, that you are just tolerating their words until you can insert yours. But when you practice listening silence, when you give someone your full attention without planning your response, something shifts. They feel seen, they feel heard, and they start trusting you in ways they do not trust others. This is not manipulation, this is respect, and respect is the foundation of authority. Here is the application. In your next conversation, do not think about what you are going to say next. Just listen fully. And when they finish, pause. Let the silence sit for 2 seconds before you respond. That pause does 2 things. It shows you actually absorbed what they said, and it signals that your response is considered, not reactive. People notice this, and they start giving more weight to your words because they know you give weight to theirs. The second type is deliberative silence. This is the silence you use when making decisions. When someone asks you a question, when a situation demands a response, when pressure mounts for you to act immediately. Most people respond instantly. They feel the pressure to fill the silence, to show they are decisive, to prove they have an answer. But instant responses are almost always inferior to considered ones. Solomon understood this. When 2 women came to him, both claiming the same baby, he did not answer immediately. He paused. He considered. He let the silence stretch. And then he made a decision so wise it became legendary. Because deliberative silence does something powerful. It signals that you take the situation seriously, that you are not reacting, that you are thinking strategically, not emotionally. And people respect that, even if it makes them uncomfortable in the moment. Here is the application. When someone asks you a difficult question, do not answer immediately. Pause. Even if you know the answer, even if the silence feels awkward, let it sit for 3 to 5 seconds, then respond. That pause transforms you from someone who reacts to someone who governs. And governing is what authority looks like. The third type is strategic withholding. This is the silence you use when you choose not to speak even though you could. When you have information, insight, or an opinion, but you recognize that revealing it now would diminish your position. This is the hardest form of silence to master because it requires restraint. It requires you to resist the urge to prove how much you know, to show how smart you are, to correct someone who is wrong. But here is what strategic withholding understands. Not every moment requires your input. Not every error needs your correction. Not every conversation benefits from your voice. And when you withhold strategically, when you let others fill the space while you observe, you gain something more valuable than being right in the moment. You gain perspective. You see who steps up, who stays silent, who reveals themselves when they think no one important is watching. Solomon practiced this constantly. He would sit in his court and listen to disputes, debates, and counsel, and he would not speak until he had heard everything, until he understood every angle, until silence had done its work. And when he finally spoke, his words carried weight that no amount of frequent talking could match. Here is the application. In your next meeting, resist the urge to be the first to speak. Resist the urge to prove your value through constant contribution. Let others talk, observe, and only speak when you have something that moves the conversation forward in a way no one else can. You will notice something. People start waiting for your input. They start asking what you think, because scarcity creates value. And when your words are scarce, they become valuable. Now let me show you how these 3 types of silence work together to create gravitational authority. When you practice listening silence, people feel respected. When you practice deliberative silence, people feel your decisions are trustworthy. When you practice strategic withholding, people recognize that your words carry weight. And over time, something shifts. You do not have to demand attention. You receive it. You do not have to dominate conversations. People naturally defer to you. You do not have to perform authority. You embody it. This is what I call gravitational authority. You are not pushing. You are pulling. You are not forcing. You are attracting. And it all starts with silence. Now let me contrast this with what dark psychology teaches. Dark psychology tells you to control the conversation, use verbal dominance, interrupt strategically, redirect when you are losing ground, fill silence before it becomes uncomfortable. And yes, that works. In the short term, you can dominate a room through verbal tactics. But here is the cost. People resent it. They might comply in the moment, but they walk away feeling manipulated. And over time, they stop trusting you. They stop seeking your input. They stop wanting you in the room. Silent authority is the opposite. You do not dominate. You elevate. You do not control. You create space. You do not perform. You embody. And people do not just comply. They align. They do not just tolerate you. They seek you out. That is the difference between manipulation and authority. One extracts compliance, the other attracts alignment. Here is the deeper layer most people miss. Silence is not just about what you do not say. It is about what you allow others to reveal. When you stay silent, when you do not rush to fill the space, people start talking. And the more they talk, the more they expose their priorities, their fears, their motives, their integrity. You learn who can handle silence and who panics in it. You learn who thinks before speaking and who just performs. You learn who is authentic and who is posturing. All of this happens when you stop talking and start observing. Solomon built his reputation as the wisest king, not because he spoke constantly, but because he listened deeply, thought carefully, and spoke precisely. And when he did speak, his words were so accurate, so insightful, so undeniable that people traveled from distant nations just to hear him. That is the power of strategic silence. It does not just command the room, it commands respect across kingdoms. Now here is the practical framework, the part you can implement immediately. Start practicing the 3 silences this week. In every conversation, practice listening silence. Give full attention without planning your response. In every decision moment, practice deliberative silence. Pause before answering, even when you know the answer. In every group setting, practice strategic withholding. Resist the urge to speak first or speak most. And watch what happens. Watch how people start leaning in when you talk. Watch how your words start carrying more weight. Watch how authority starts flowing to you instead of you having to fight for it. This is not a trick. This is not a hack. This is a fundamental shift in how you operate. You are moving from reactive to responsive, from performing to embodying, from demanding to attracting. And here is the principle I promised you at the beginning, the one that changes everything. Authority is not about making people listen to you. It is about becoming someone worth listening to. And you do not become worth listening to by talking more. You become worth listening to by making every word count. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the amplification of what you eventually say. When you speak rarely, people listen closely. When you speak after deliberation, people trust your judgment. When you speak only when it adds value, people seek your input. That is gravitational authority. and it is built in the silence. So here is my challenge to you. Stop trying to dominate rooms through performance. Stop filling every silence with words. Stop proving your value through constant contribution. Start mastering the 3 silences. Listen deeply. Deliberate carefully. Withhold strategically. And watch how the entire room starts shifting toward you. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. This is the silent authority principle. This is how kings commanded rooms without speaking. And this is how you can too. I am giving you this for free. No paywall, no premium content, no hidden levels. Because real authority should not require a subscription. Subscribe if you want more of this. This is just the beginning. Let's build authority that does not need to be announced. So, here's what separates this from everything else you're consuming. Manipulation requires you to stay 1 step ahead forever. The moment someone sees your tactic, it stops working. So you're on a treadmill, learning new tricks, new angles, new psychological exploits, just to maintain position. Solomonic Wisdom builds architecture. You're not learning how to trick people into compliance. You're learning how to construct systems, positions, and frameworks that don't require tricks because they're fundamentally sound. 3,000 years. That's how long these principles have been proving themselves. Not 3 years of trendy psychology, not 3 decades of business theory, 3 millennia of practical application across every culture, every economy, every power structure that's ever existed. This is what you build legacy on. This is what separates people who have temporary influence from people who create lasting impact. The Machiavelli content will teach you how to win the next interaction. This teaches you how to win the next 30 years. I'm not here to compete with them. I'm here to show you what comes after you realize their tactics have a shelf life. Same time, next video. Bring your questions, bring your skepticism. I'm here waiting. Save this video to re-watch again later. This is the kind of insight dark psychology channels would charge you for. I'm giving it to you because the best way to neutralize manipulation is to raise the intelligence of the entire room. Subscribe if you want more. No paywall, just wisdom. And check out these suggested videos to continue the journey and step into the next level in the Solomonic Wisdom.